Welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal channel. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. This is another bad story. This is another very bad story in a space of just 2 days after us talking about Jota yesterday. Devastating story. Arsenal's Thomas Partey has now been charged with cases on charges of sexual assault and rape. This has been confirmed by the Metropolitan Police, and he will be appearing before court on the 5th of August to have a fair hearing. Thomas Partey's cases started in 2021, and according to the police, we're going to go through the statement. The cases that happened with 3 women were actually committed in 2021 and 2022. And I remember in 2022 we talked about this. It was slightly talked about. It kind of disappeared. And the Athletic are now saying that the player has been charged, and now the player can be named because it's out of contract. It is Thomas Partey. It is the player that was being talked about in 2021 and 2022, having there are claims that he raped women, and now the police are saying they've got very good evidence on this case. I'm not going to ask you of anything on this video. Let's just jump into it. Let's talk about what's going on with our beloved Partey, and let's see what really happened. So this story has been done by The Athletic and reported by James McNicholas and Mark Slater, who say that former Arsenal midfielder Thomas Partey has been charged with counts of rape and count of 5 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault. The 32-year-old, who previously cannot be named for legal reasons, has been the subject of an investigation that first started in February 2022 and continued playing for the Premier League club prior to the expiry of his contract at the end of June. The allegations to these the allegations relate to 3 separate women who reported incidents which took place between 2021 and 2022. Partey will now appear at the Westminster Magistrates Court on Tuesday, August the 5th. The Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, is an independent organization that prosecutes criminal cases that have been investigated by the police and other investigative bodies in England and Wales. The Athletic previously reported the CPS were assessing a full file of evidence that was sent to them by the Metropolitan Police, right? And here they're saying that Jaswant Nawal of the CPS said the Crown Prosecution Service has today authorized the prosecution of Thomas Partey for multiple counts of that crime that we've talked about, after carefully reviewing a comprehensive file of evidence. Our prosecutors have worked closely with officers in the Metropolitan Police who have carried out the investigation to review the evidence and advise on the appropriate charges. We remind everyone that criminal proceedings are active and defendant has the right to a fair trial. And they're also saying that we know that there will be significant public interest in this announcement, but it is absolutely vital that there is no reporting, commentary, or sharing of information online which could in any way prejudice these proceedings. The Metropolitan Police's detective superintendent and the Fafi, whose team led the investigation, said our priority remains providing support to the women who have come forward. We would like to ask anyone who has been impacted in this case, or anyone who has information, to speak with our team. You can contact detectives about this investigation by emailing at cit@met.police.uk. Full stop. And there you have it. A case that started in 2021 has now surfaced. A case that started in 2021 is now fully prosecuted, is now fully investigated, and it awaits prosecution. Thomas Partey. And it's very, very interesting here because they mention former Arsenal player. This is very good PR, by the way, by Arsenal. They've done very, very good PR. They are saying former Arsenal player Thomas Partey charged with those accounts, one of sexual assault and then the other of RAPE. Thomas Partey. This happened to Benjamin Mendy. This happened to Mason Greenwood. We know what happens when this happens. I am not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and say maybe this may be that, right? Because these cases started in 2021, and I remember we talked about them heavily in 2022. I remember I was really against the people who were saying it was Partey, because by then Partey's name was not mentioned, and many people were saying that it's Partey this and Partey that, and the fact that Arsenal continued to play him regardless of the situation actually gave us a bit of confidence and clarity that it wasn't Thomas Partey, and that's why all of us were sitting down and we were confident it wasn't Partey. And he has had what a season he's had in Arsenal colours. What a campaign. But I tell you, Arsenal signed Martin Zubimendi in January, and we wanted a forward and we wanted a striker, and Arsenal went and struck a deal for Zubimendi in January. They knew this was coming, right? They knew this was coming because they told us, and the Athletic, by the way, no one is innocent in reporting on this case. Absolute spinners. Because the Athletic said, well, they have signed Zubimendi as a replacement to Jorginho. Are you absolutely kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you saying that Arsenal really look at Jorginho and Zubimendi as players at the same level? Like Zubimendi comes in to sit on the bench, right, and replace Jorginho. That was never the case. Arsenal knew right from January that this guy's contract was not going to be extended. Arsenal knew right from January that this guy's career is over. And I'm not going to say he did it. I'm not going to say he didn't, because listen, that is not in my position. But I am disappointed in this week, because it's a bad week. It's a bad week. Tomiyasu leaves today. Partey gets all these charges today. Diego Jota passes away yesterday. What is going on? Like, what the hell is going on in the world of football? What is going on? But I tell you, Arsenal knew. And why we continued to play him, I don't know. Maybe Arsenal. I'm not going to defend the club here. I'm not going to defend the club. Partey is my fellow African man, and until proven guilty, I am not going to side with anyone. Right? I am not going to side with anyone. But I think Arsenal knew. I think Arsenal knew what was going on. Right? Because we were told that, he was definitely leaving, and then there was some kind of spin, right? Remember that, like Fabrizio said, Partey will leave Arsenal and a new midfielder will come. And then there was some kind of spin. I think it started with either Sami Makpo or the Athletic, one of those two outlets. They were spinning it in a way that Arsenal were now talking to Partey, and Partey wanted to stay and everything, and therefore there was a likelihood of Partey staying. They're lying. It was never there. There was no likelihood that Partey was ever going to stay with Arsenal. These guys knew, right? And if it's true, you can't blame the club, because these are personal events that transpired, and Arsenal have nothing to deal with this, right? Arsenal have nothing to do with it. The only thing Arsenal can do right now is clean their name and say, we protected the player because he was still our player. He was under contract, and there wasn't any substantial, investigations, and there wasn't any substantial evidence, because we were told in 2022 that the player would visit the police station whenever summoned, right? So if that is true, that Partey really did this, right, and Arsenal continued to play him, for the only reason I would say is Arsenal believed there was no substantial evidence, and I don't think Arsenal in any way, shape or form blocked investigations. What next for Thomas Partey? I think we know. Guys. Like, we know what happened to Mendy. And we know what happened to Mason Greenwood. For Partey, he's 32, okay? For Partey, he's 32. And being 32, he's coming to the evening of his career. And this is not me trying to say, well, it's okay, it's not okay. And by the way, if it's true, I 100% say it shouldn't happen. These are, we make mistakes as men. I cannot point myself as a hero. I've never been a hero. I've made so many bad mistakes, very, very bad mistakes as well. But when it comes to Partey, I think his career is over. I think his career is over. Like, unless he's going to Saudi Arabia, maybe. I think his career is over, because if you're looking at 5 counts, right? 5 different charges of RAPE, and you're also looking at 1 count of sexual assault, that is enough to end your life. Actually, 1 count of RAPE in a country like mine is enough to end your life. And honestly, I don't know what's gonna happen next. On Monday, we are being told that on the 5th of August, on the 5th of July, which is Monday, 5th of August or 5th of July. Let me confirm. I'm just disoriented with this. I'm just really disoriented with this. So they're saying that Thomas Partey, when is he supposed to? August the 5th, right? It will be a Tuesday, August the 5th. He will appear in court. Now, what is unclear at the moment, right, is why it has taken so long. Ever since the women came out, 3 women came out in 2021, 2022, it is unclear why it has taken so long for Arsenal to find an answer to this. Like, not Arsenal, but for us to find an answer to this, right? Was it because he was still under contract with Arsenal, and maybe Arsenal said he's still under contract, let his contract run down, and this and that? But then I remember, like, I remember that there was a time when Arsenal had a chance to sell Partey. And maybe were Arsenal told not to sell Partey and maybe let his contract run down? Because for me, none of this that we are looking at right now is breaking story. No. All of this has been orchestrated. What is breaking is that the case has come online. That is the only thing breaking about the story. The case has come online. The case has come into public, into public attention. But apart from that, I know Arsenal knew, and I know Partey knew this was coming, and I know that the Metropolitan Police knew this day was coming, because the timing of this, I want to say the timing is perfect, but it isn't perfect. This is orchestrated. Not orchestrated, really, but the timing is planned. His contract expired 3 days ago. 3 fucking days ago. That's when his contract expired. And now it makes a lot of sense. And now it makes sense why Arsenal were dying for Martin Zubimendi. It now makes sense why Arsenal spent 66 million on a defensive midfielder when we could spend that on a forward and an attacker. It now makes sense. It now all adds up. And I don't know what to say at this moment. Apart from I'm desperate. I'm desperate for this not to be true. Like, I'm really desperate for this not to be true. But I am also not a fucking fool. I'm not a fucking idiot. I know that if this wasn't true, if these accounts were not true, then there is no reason for him to face charges in court. There is no reason that's why he's been charged. If this wasn't true, we have gone past the stage, and I know many people are gonna say, it's about the rest. It's not about the rest, guys. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I'm desperate. And I was desperate in 2022. I remember talking to one of my lads, Rokani. Great guy. And Rokani told me it's going to eat him up. Right? We're talking about it in 2022. And he told me. Because then Arsenal were linked with Serge Milinkovic-Savic. You remember? Arsenal were linked with Serge Milinkovic-Savic. I think it was a Lazio at the time. Yeah. I think Lazio. We were linked with Serge Milinkovic-Savic. So, we really can't verify this, but it doesn't look good for Partey. It doesn't look good for Partey, really.